Welcome to Land of Horror. Today, we will continue our journey to explore the most chilling mysteries. Do you have the courage to face spooky stories, terrifying legends, and unexplained supernatural phenomena? Join me as we delve into haunted places, dark secrets, and legendary figures that will send shivers down your spine. Before we begin, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any videos, and let's step into the world of Land of Horror together. Get ready, because thrilling moments await you. Are you ready to explore? The clock on the dashboard flickered to 3 a.m., casting a soft glow over the cramped interior of Jack's old Honda Civic. The air was thick with a sense of fatigue, yet exhilarating memories of the day lingered, weaving through the silence like fireflies. Jack and Tom had just wrapped up another long shift at the local amusement park, where laughter and adrenaline had filled the air until the ride shut down and the last customers trickled out. As they drove through the empty streets, the world outside felt surreal, quiet and calm, yet tinged with a hint of unease. Streetlights flickered overhead, illuminating their path in harsh yellow beams, casting elongated shadows that danced along the road. The radio played a soft rock ballad, the kind that reminisced about summers gone by, and both friends found themselves lost in thought, reliving moments of joy mixed with teenage angst. Can you believe how crazy this summer has been? Tom broke the silence, his voice a mix of nostalgia and disbelief. I mean, the roller coaster line was practically a mile long every day. Jack chuckled, shaking his head. Yeah, but those late night shifts, worth every penny for the stories we have. Remember that one time we got locked in the haunted house? Don't remind me. Tom laughed, shaking his head. I thought we'd never get out. I swear I saw a ghost. Jack smirked, glancing at his friend. You were just scared because of that creepy animatronic. But hey, those are the nights we'll look back on and laugh. Tom nodded, but his expression shifted as he peered out the window. I just wish we could do something epic next summer, like a road trip or a music festival. Jack's heart raced at the thought. That would be awesome. Just the two of us, no responsibilities. We could visit the coast or even hit up that big festival in the city. But the mood changed as they approached a traffic light. The bright red signal loomed ahead, glaring like an ominous eye. Great, just what we need, Jack groaned, pressing on the brake. I hate waiting at this light. As the seconds ticked by, the stillness around them felt almost tangible, thickening the air inside the car. Jack drummed his fingers on the steering wheel, counting down the seconds until they could move again. It felt like an eternity, but Tom's attention was drawn elsewhere. Hey, look at that, he said, nodding toward the car beside them. Jack turned his gaze to the right and felt a chill creep up his spine. Next to them, parked at the light, was a big black hearse. It gleamed under the sparse streetlights, pristine and unsettling in its immaculate condition. But it was the figure behind the wheel that sent shivers down Jack's spine. A clown. A full-blown clown, complete with bright red hair, a painted face, and a polka-dot suit. His eyes were wide and vacant, staring straight ahead, not acknowledging the world around him. The makeup, though colorful, had an eerie quality, making Jack's stomach churn. What the hell? Tom whispered, his voice barely audible. Jack couldn't tear his eyes away. Is this for real? He muttered, half expecting the clown to turn and wink at them, as if this were some twisted prank. The light remained stubbornly red, and the silence hung heavy between them. Jack's mind raced with thoughts. Who was this clown? What was he doing in a hearse at this hour? As if sensing their gaze, the clown's lips curled into a faint smile that didn't reach his eyes. Should we say something? Tom suggested, a mix of curiosity and fear evident in his tone. No way, Jack replied quickly, a shiver racing down his spine. Just ignore it. Let's hope the light changes soon. But as they waited, time felt distorted. The seconds stretched into what felt like minutes, and the clown remained utterly still. Jack's heart raced, and he tried to divert his mind by flipping through radio stations, but nothing could drown out the discomfort building in the car. Tom leaned closer, squinting to get a better look at the clown. Jack, something feels off. What if he's, I don't know, dangerous? Come on, he's just a clown. Probably just some weird gig. Jack reassured him, though he couldn't shake the unease that gripped his chest. It's late. Maybe he's coming back from a party or something. Just then, the radio crackled, and the familiar voice of the DJ filled the car, discussing local news. And in other news, there have been strange sightings around the old amusement park, with reports of clowns being seen at night. Residents are urged to stay vigilant. The word sent a jolt through Jack. He shot a glance at Tom, who was staring wide-eyed at the hearse. The clown had not moved, but now the faint smile seemed to grow wider, more sinister, as if he had heard every word. Okay, this is seriously freaking me out, Tom said, his voice shaking. Let's just get out of here. I don't want to stick around to find out what the guy's up to. Agreed, Jack said, gripping the steering wheel tightly. The light was still red, but his instinct screamed to get moving. With a deep breath, he leaned forward, ready to inch forward the moment the light changed. But before he could react, the traffic signal flickered, shifting from red to green with a sudden intensity that seemed almost deliberate. Go! Go! Tom urged, his eyes darting between them. Clown in the light. Jack slammed his foot on the accelerator, and the car lurched forward. But as they passed the hearse, he dared one last glance into the driver's seat. The clown turned his head slowly, locking eyes with Jack for a fleeting moment. The coldness in those painted eyes pierced through the night, sending a jolt of dread through him. As they sped away, Jack's heart raced, not just from the sudden adrenaline of the encounter, but from the realization that something was deeply wrong. The peaceful night had shifted into something darker, an unknown terror lurking in the shadows. Did you see that? Tom exclaimed, his voice shaky. What was that guy doing? I don't know, but I've got a bad feeling about this, Jack replied, glancing into the rearview mirror. The hearse was gone, swallowed by the night. Their laughter from earlier felt distant now, replaced by a palpable tension in the air. As they drove on, an unsettling question lingered in Jack's mind. What had they just witnessed? And was it just the beginning of a night filled with horrors yet to come? As they drove away from the traffic light, the weight of their encounter settled heavily in the car. Jack gripped the steering wheel tightly, his knuckles white. Tom sat in the passenger seat, glancing nervously at the rearview mirror, half expecting the hearse to materialize behind them. Did you see how he looked at us? Tom's voice trembled. It was like he knew something. I don't want to think about it, Jack replied, forcing a laugh that sounded hollow even to his own ears. He was just a clown. Probably just a guy in a costume playing a prank. But deep down, Jack felt the shiver of fear crawling up his spine. The unsettling sensation clung to him like a shadow, refusing to let go. Jack decided to pull into a nearby gas station to clear his head. The flickering fluorescent lights felt comforting as they stepped out of the car. Let's grab some snacks or something, he suggested, eager to push the encounter from his mind. As they walked towards the convenience store, a figure caught Jack's eye. A girl stood outside, leaning against the wall, her expression anxious. She was slightly disheveled, with dark hair falling into her face. There was something hauntingly familiar about her, but he couldn't place it. Hey, Tom whispered, nudging Jack. Should we talk to her? Jack hesitated but felt compelled to approach her. Are you okay? He asked gently, concern lacing his tone. The girl looked up, her eyes wide and fearful. I need help. Please. Jack exchanged a glance with Tom before urging her to continue. What's going on? I was at the amusement park earlier tonight, she began, her voice shaky. I saw something horrible. I thought I was safe here, but now they're coming for me. Who's coming for you? Tom pressed, leaning closer. They're after me, she whispered, glancing over her shoulder, as if expecting shadows to emerge from the darkness. They were clown masks, and they don't stop. They just keep coming. Jack felt his heart race. The memory of the clown from the hearse flashed in his mind. What do you mean? What did you see? I was working at the park, and I overheard them talking. They're planning something. They want to hurt people. I tried to get away, but they followed me. Did you see the clown? Tom asked, eyes wide. She nodded, her face pale. He's one of them. They're part of something bigger, some kind of cult. The girl's words hung in the air like a thick fog, obscuring reality. Jack felt a mix of fear and disbelief. You can't be serious. A cult? Why would they target you? Because I know too much, she replied, trembling. I saw them performing some kind of ritual in the funhouse. It was dark and twisted, and there were people in clown costumes everywhere. Tom swallowed hard. And you think they're coming after you? I know they are. They won't stop until they silence me. Jack glanced at Tom, weighing their options. We need to call the police or something. This is too dangerous. No, the girl cried, her eyes wide with fear. They'll know I said anything. You have to help me. Jack felt torn. He wanted to help her, but the danger felt overwhelming. What do you want us to do? Take me somewhere safe, she pleaded. I can't go home. If they find me, I don't know what will happen. Tom's gaze shifted nervously. Jack, this is getting out of hand. We shouldn't be involved in something like this. But Jack felt an inexplicable pull toward the girl. We can't just leave her here. If what she's saying is true, she could be in serious danger. Fine, Tom relented, albeit reluctantly. But we need to be careful. If these clowns are as dangerous as she says, we can't take any chances. Jack nodded, his decision made. They led the girl back to the car, keeping their voices low as they discussed their next steps. Where do you want us to take you? Jack asked, trying to remain calm despite the rising tension. Anywhere but here. Just drive. I'll tell you where to go, she replied, glancing nervously around the gas station, her eyes scanning for any signs of danger. As they got into the car, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were crossing a line, stepping into a world darker than they could ever imagine. Jack turned the ignition, and the car roared to life, slicing through the quiet of the night. He glanced at the girl, who was now staring out the window, lost in her thoughts. Tom was fidgeting in the passenger seat, his anxiety palpable. Which way? Jack asked, glancing at the girl. Just go straight for now, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. I'll let you know when it's safe to turn. They drove in silence for a few minutes, the tension in the car growing thicker. Jack couldn't help but replay the girl's words in his mind. A cult? Rituals? Clowns? It sounded ridiculous, yet something deep within him sensed the gravity of her situation. Suddenly, the girl sat up straight. Turn left here. Jack obeyed, and they veered onto a dimly lit side street, surrounded by overgrown trees that seemed to loom ominously in the darkness. As they drove deeper into the shadows, Jack noticed something out of the corner of his eye, a flicker of movement in the trees. He quickly dismissed it, convincing himself it was just his imagination playing tricks on him. But then he heard it, a distant laughter, high-pitched and unsettling. What was that? Tom asked, his voice quivering. I don't know, Jack replied, gripping the wheel tighter. The laughter grew louder, echoing through the night like a haunting melody. It's them, isn't it? The girl whispered, her eyes wide with terror. They found me. Jack's heart raced as he glanced at the rearview mirror. Nothing seemed to miss behind them, but the unease clawed at him. Just keep driving, he said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. Suddenly, a vehicle roared to life behind them, headlights piercing through the dark. Jack's pulse quickened as he glanced back, his breath hitching in his throat. Is that them? Tom shouted, panic lacing his words. I don't know, Jack replied, accelerating down the street, the tires screeching against the asphalt. He could see the vehicle gaining on them, a dark, ominous figure weaving through the shadows. Go faster, the girl urged, gripping the seat as if it were a lifeline. Jack pressed harder on the gas, feeling the car lurch forward. The vehicle behind them was relentless, closing the distance with terrifying speed. Who are they? He shouted, desperation creeping into his voice. They're clowns, she screamed. They won't stop until they catch me. Adrenaline surged through Jack's veins as he navigated the twisting streets, the world around him blurring into a haze of darkness. The laughter intensified, echoing in his ears like a chorus of madness. He could see the glint of headlights behind them, illuminating the night like a predator stalking its prey. Where do I go? He yelled, eyes darting between the road and the rearview mirror. Take a right, she shouted. Jack swung the wheel, tires skidding as they veered onto another side street. The car bounced over the uneven pavement, and he prayed they could lose the pursuers. But the laughter only grew louder, wrapping around them like a chilling fog. Keep going, the girl urged. Don't stop. Tom's voice was barely a whisper as he stared out the window. Jack, what if we can't lose them? What if? Don't say that. Jack snapped, his heart pounding against his chest. He could feel the fear radiating from Tom, and he tried to suppress his own panic. Just when Jack thought they might have gained some distance, the road ahead came to an abrupt end, an abandoned lot filled with overgrown grass and dilapidated buildings looming in the shadows. Turn around, the girl screamed, her voice cutting through the chaos. Jack slammed the brakes, skidding to a stop. What now? He gasped, scanning the area for any sign of an escape. Before they could react, the pursuing vehicle screeched to a halt behind them, the headlights blinding and imposing. Figures spilled out, shrouded in darkness, but unmistakably clad in colorful clown costumes, their faces painted grotesquely. Get out of the car! One of the clowns shouted, his voice a twisted mockery of cheerfulness. Laughter erupted around them, a cacophony of madness that echoed through the empty lot. Jack's heart sank as he looked. The air was thick with tension as the clowns advanced toward the car, their painted faces twisted into unsettling grins. Jack's heart raced, and the cacophony of laughter echoed in his ears, mingling with the pounding of his pulse. He shot a quick glance at Tom and the girl, whose faces mirrored his own panic. What do we do? Tom whispered, his voice trembling. We can't let them get us. Stay in the car. Jack hissed, trying to sound braver than he felt. He could feel the sweat gathering on his palms as he gripped the steering wheel. One of the clowns, a tall figure with a frizzy blue wig, leaned against the passenger side of the car, peering in with gleeful malice. Hello, friends. We're here to invite you to the show, he called out, his voice dripping with mockery. Get out of here, the girl shouted, her fear transforming into anger. You don't scare me. The clown's smile widened, revealing teeth that looked too sharp to be human. Oh, but we're not trying to scare you, darling. We're here to entertain. Jack could feel the adrenaline coursing through his veins as he quickly scanned the area for a way out. The only path was the way they had come, and he knew they needed to act fast. "We can't just sit here," Jack said, his mind racing. "We have to fight back or find a way to escape." "But how?" Tom replied, his voice quivering with fear. "There are too many of them. Maybe we can scare them off?" the girl suggested, her eyes darting around for anything they could use as a weapon. "If we make it look like we're not afraid." "Right. We need to find something." Jack looked around the car and spotted an old baseball bat in the back seat, remnants of a summer spent playing ball. "Tom, grab that bat." Tom scrambled to the back, fumbling through the clutter before pulling out the bat. He handed it to Jack, who gripped it tightly, feeling a surge of courage. "We'll distract them, and then make a break for it. On my count." The clowns were still laughing, their voices echoing in the stillness of the night. Jack could see more of them gathering around, some holding brightly colored balloons that seemed to shimmer in the darkness. "Ready?" Jack whispered, his eyes locked on the nearest clown. Tom and the girl nodded, their expressions a mix of fear and determination. 3, 2, 1! Jack swung the door open with all his might, catching the clown off guard. The force sent him stumbling backward, and Jack quickly followed through with a strike of the bat. The clown yelped, the sound mingling with laughter as the other clowns erupted in chaotic glee. "Get him!" the blue-wigged clown shouted, shaking off the initial surprise. Jack's heart raced as he swung again, his instincts kicking in. The bat connected with the clown's shoulder, and he stumbled back, laughter turning into shrieks of outrage. "You little brats think you can play? Now!" Tom shouted, pushing himself out of the car. He darted around to the driver's side, ready to help Jack fend off the approaching clowns. "Run!" the girl cried, fear giving her voice an edge of urgency. The trio burst into motion, sprinting across the empty lot as the clowns regrouped, their laughter now tinged with menace. Jack could hear their footsteps behind him, a chaotic rhythm of pursuit. They reached the nearest building, an old warehouse that loomed ominously in the night. "In here!" Jack urged, shoving the door open and rushing inside. They stumbled into the darkness, panting heavily. The interior smelled of mildew and decay, the remnants of forgotten memories lining the walls. Rusted machinery sat idle, casting eerie shadows in the dim light filtering through the broken windows. "What now?" Tom gasped, leaning against a wall to catch his breath. Jack glanced at the girl, whose eyes were wide with fear. "Do you know this place?" She shook her head. "I've never been here before, but we need to find a way to hide." "Let's look for an exit," Tom suggested, his voice still shaky. "If we can get out the back." But before they could formulate a plan, the sound of laughter echoed outside, reverberating through the empty space. The clowns were closing in. "Quick, over here!" Jack whispered, leading them deeper into the warehouse. They ducked behind a stack of old crates, trying to control their breathing. The laughter grew louder, mixing with the sounds of footsteps echoing through the hollow structure. "They're going to find us!" Tom whispered, his voice barely audible. "Shoo!" Jack hissed, pressing a finger to his lips. "We need to stay quiet." The sound of voices grew closer, and they could hear the clowns taunting each other, their words laced with malevolence. "Did you see how they ran? Like scared little mice. They think they can hide from us. Let's show them what happens when you play with clowns." The girl trembled beside Jack, her eyes darting around as she whispered, "We can't let them catch us. They'll just be quiet," Jack urged, his heart racing. He could feel the panic rising in the pit of his stomach, but he forced himself to remain calm. After what felt like an eternity of tense silence, the clowns moved farther away, their laughter fading into the distance. "We need to find a way out," Jack whispered, looking around for any possible escape routes. "Over there." Tom pointed to a set of double doors at the far end of the warehouse. if we can make it there. Jack nodded, steeling himself. On the count of 3, we run. Ready? Tom and the girl nodded, determination replacing fear. 1, 2, 3. They burst from their hiding spot, sprinting toward the doors. Jack could feel the adrenaline pumping through his veins as they dashed across the floor, their footsteps echoing in the vast emptiness. As they reached the doors, Jack pulled them open, revealing a dark alley outside. Go, 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 he urged, pushing everyone through before glancing back. To their horror, they saw the clowns pouring back into the warehouse, their eyes wide with glee as they spotted their prey. Don't let them get away, one of them shouted, rushing toward the exit. Run! Jack yelled, taking off down the alley, adrenaline fueling his every step. They dashed through the shadows, desperate to put distance between themselves and the madness behind them. The alley twisted and turned, the darkness wrapping around them like a cloak. Jack could hear the laughter of the clowns echoing behind them, but he refused to look back. They emerged onto a deserted street, the faint glow of streetlights illuminating their path. Jack glanced around, trying to catch his breath. Where do we go now? He gasped. Somewhere safe, the girl replied, her voice urgent. We need to find help. Just then, a nearby diner came into view, its neon sign flickering in the night. There! Tom pointed, a glimmer of hope sparking in his eyes. They hurried toward the diner, their hearts racing as they pushed through the door. The interior was dimly lit and sparsely populated, with only a few late-night patrons seated at the counter. Help us! Jack shouted to the waitress behind the counter. There are clowns! But before he could finish, the door swung open with a crash, and the clowns poured in, their laughter echoing through the small space. Jack's heart sank as he realized they had no way out. The clowns spotted them immediately, their faces lighting up with excitement. Look what we found! The blue-wigged clown exclaimed, his grin widening. The patrons of the diner stared in horror as the clowns advanced. You can't hide from us, little mice! One of the clowns taunted, his voice dripping with mockery. Get back! Jack shouted, grabbing a nearby chair as he positioned himself protectively in front of the girl and Tom. The clowns halted, but their laughter only grew louder, a cacophony of chaos filling the diner. This is our show, the blue-wigged clown declared, stepping forward. And you're the main event? Jack could feel the desperation clawing at him. We don't want any trouble, he pleaded, trying to buy time. Just let us go! But the clowns only laughed harder. Oh, but the fun has just begun, one of them sneered, brandishing a balloon in one hand. Let's give the audience a real performance. The atmosphere shifted as the clowns surrounded them, their movements fluid and theatrical, as if they were part of a twisted circus. Jack's heart raced as he felt the walls closing in, and the realization that escape was slipping away weighed heavily on him. The girl clutched Tom's arm, her eyes wide with terror. We can't let them take us! We'll find a way, Jack promised, even as doubt gnawed at him. He gripped the chair tightly, ready to defend them if necessary. Suddenly, the diner's door swung open again, and a figure stepped inside, an older man in a leather jacket, looking disheveled but determined. What's going on here? He shouted, his voice booming. The clowns paused, momentarily distracted. Just putting on a little show, the blue-wigged clown replied, a hint of annoyance creeping into his tone. The man stepped forward, fists clenched. Get away from them. They're not part of your twisted circus. Jack felt a flicker of hope. Who are you? He asked, his voice shaky. I'm the guy who's going to make sure you get out of here alive. The man replied, his gaze steady as he glared at the clowns. The tension in the diner thickened as the clowns assessed the newcomer, their expressions shifting from playful to hostile. You think you can stand in our way? One of them sneered. The man smirked. I don't just think it, I know it. Without warning, the clowns lunged forward, and the diner erupted into chaos. Jack swung the chair, connecting with one of the clowns as Tom grabbed a nearby table and flipped it over to create a barrier. Get back! Jack shouted, his heart racing as he tried to protect the girl and Tom. The older man moved with surprising speed, tackling one of the clowns to the ground, fists flying as he fought back against the chaos. Jack glanced at the girl, who was now visibly shaken. We need to find an exit, he yelled, scanning the diner for any possible escape routes. Through the back, the man shouted, struggling against the clown's grasp. Go now! Come on! Jack urged, grabbing Tom's hand as they rushed toward the back door. They burst through, spilling into the cool night air just as the clowns regrouped and charged after them. Keep running, the man called after them, his voice fading as he continued to hold off the clowns. Jack, Tom, and the girl sprinted down the alley, their hearts pounding in their chests as they raced away from the chaos. Where do we go? Tom gasped, glancing back at the diner, where the sounds of struggle echoed behind them. I don't know, Jack replied, his mind racing. We just have to keep moving. As they ran, the girl suddenly pointed to a nearby building, a small, nondescript house that seemed unassuming against the backdrop of the night. We can hide in there, she suggested, her voice urgent. Jack nodded, desperate for a place to regroup. They dashed toward the house, slipping through the gate and up to the door. He tried the knob, but it was locked. Great, he muttered, kicking the door lightly. Wait, the girl exclaimed, pulling out a small object from her pocket, a hairpin. I can pick it! Are you serious? Tom asked, his eyes wide. I've done it before, she replied, her hands steady as she worked on the lock. Jack felt the urgency of the moment, glancing back down the street. The sounds of the clowns' laughter were growing fainter, but he knew they wouldn't. Stop! Hurry! He urged. With a final click, the door swung open, and they hurried inside, closing it quietly behind them. The interior was dimly lit, filled with shadows and dust motes dancing in the air. It looked like it hadn't been inhabited for years, but it felt like a sanctuary compared to the chaos outside. Is anyone here? The girl whispered, peering into the darkness. Jack shook his head. I don't think so. Let's find somewhere to hide. They moved through the narrow hallway, ducking into a small room that appeared to be an old study. The air was stale, and the smell of dust was thick. This should do, Jack said, closing the door behind them and leaning against it, trying to catch his breath. Why would they be after you? Tom asked the girl, breaking the tense silence. She hesitated, biting her lip. I was involved in something I shouldn't have been. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I heard them talking about their plans, their rituals. I thought it was just a joke at first. Jack listened intently, his heart racing as she continued. But then I saw it. I saw them perform a ritual at the amusement park. It was terrifying. They were invoking something dark. And I knew I had to get out before it was too late. What do you mean, invoking something? Tom asked, eyes wide. The clowns are part of a cult, she said, her voice trembling. They believe they can summon something from the darkness, something that will give them power. Jack's mind whirled with the implications. And you were the only one who saw it? Yes, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. And now they want to silence me. They won't stop until I'm gone. What do we do? Tom asked, his voice tinged with desperation. We need to expose them, Jack replied, feeling a surge of determination. We can't let them get away with this. But how? Tom countered. We're just kids. They have the numbers and the madness. Maybe we can find evidence, the girl suggested. If we can get back to the amusement park, we can show everyone what they're doing. Jack nodded, feeling a sense of purpose. If we can gather proof, then we might have a chance to stop them. As they discussed their next move, Jack felt the urgency of their situation. We need to move fast, he said, looking toward the door. If the clowns figure out where we are, we won't stand a chance. Let's check the back of the house, Tom suggested. Maybe there's another exit. They cautiously made their way through the house, checking each room for any signs of danger. As they reached the kitchen, they spotted a back door that led to a small yard. Here, Jack said, pushing it open. They stepped outside, glancing around to make sure the coast was clear. Which way to the amusement park? The girl asked, her eyes scanning the darkened street. Not far, Jack replied, recalling the route they had taken earlier. If we go this way, we can avoid the main roads. They set off, moving quickly and quietly through the darkened streets. Jack's heart raced as they navigated the familiar paths, adrenaline pushing them forward. The amusement park loomed ahead, its lights dim, casting an eerie glow against the night sky. Stay low, Jack whispered as they approached the entrance, now shrouded in shadows and silence. They crept through the gate, which was surprisingly ajar, and entered the park. The atmosphere was charged with a sense of dread, the echoes of laughter now hauntingly absent. Where do we go? Tom asked, his voice trembling. The funhouse, the girl said, determination shining in her eyes. That's where I saw them. We can find evidence there. They made their way through the park, the sounds of the distant carnival rides creating an unsettling ambience. Every rustle of leaves and creak of metal made Jack's heart race, his instincts on high alert. As they reached the entrance of the funhouse, the girl hesitated, fear flickering in her eyes. Are you sure about this? Jack nodded, steeling himself. We have to do this. We can't let them continue their plans. They stepped inside, the dim lighting casting long shadows on the walls. Mirrors lined the corridors, distorting their reflections as they moved deeper into the funhouse. This place is creepy, Tom murmured, glancing around nervously. Keep moving, Jack urged, his eyes scanning the area for any signs of the cult. As they ventured deeper, they heard voices echoing in the distance. Jack motioned for them to be quiet as they crept toward the source of the sound. Did you hear that? Tom whispered, anxiety evident in his tone. Yes, Jack replied, his pulse quickening. Let's check it out. They approached a large room filled with carnival props, and through a crack in the door, they caught sight of a group of clowns gathered around a makeshift altar. The sight sent chills down Jack's spine. The clowns were chanting in low, rhythmic tones, their faces illuminated by flickering candlelight. The altar was adorned with strange symbols and a large, grotesque mask that seemed to pulse with an unnatural energy. What are they doing? The girl breathed, her eyes wide with terror. They're summoning something, Jack whispered, his heart racing. We need to get evidence. Tom pulled out his phone, ready to record, but the girl shook her head. No. If they see us, then we'll have to be quick, Jack said, feeling the urgency of the moment. They crept closer, their hearts pounding as they positioned themselves behind a stack of props. The clowns continued their chant, oblivious to the intruders watching them. As Tom began recording, Jack held his breath, capturing the scene. This is it, he whispered. We can expose them. Suddenly, one of the clowns turned, sensing something amiss. What was that? He hissed, his eyes narrowing. Jack's heart dropped as he realized they'd been spotted. Run! He yelled, pushing the girl and Tom ahead of him. They burst out of the funhouse, adrenaline surging as they sprinted through the park, the sounds of the clowns' laughter growing closer behind them. Over there! Tom shouted, pointing toward an exit that led to the main road. Jack felt the clowns gaining on them, their laughter now a chilling melody that echoed in his ears. "Don't look back," he urged, focusing on the path ahead. They darted through the park, the lights blurring around them as they ran. "Keep going!" the girl shouted, her voice full of determination. They burst through the gates and onto the main road, their feet pounding against the pavement as they sprinted for their lives. The clowns' laughter echoed behind them, a haunting reminder of the danger they faced. After what felt like an eternity, they spotted a police car parked near a gas station. "There!" Jack shouted, pointing frantically. "Help!" Tom yelled, waving his arms as they raced toward the vehicle. The police officers jumped out, startled by the sudden commotion. "What's going on?" one of them asked, his gaze shifting to the trio. "Clowns! They're after us!" Jack gasped, breathless. "Clowns?" The officer frowned. "What do you mean?" "Please, they're part of a cult. They're trying to summon something," the girl pleaded, her voice shaking with urgency. "Calm down. We need to hear you out," the officer replied, but Jack could see the skepticism in his eyes. "Just listen," Jack urged, pulling out Tom's phone and showing the recording. "We have proof." The officers exchanged glances, their expressions shifting from disbelief to concern as they watched the video. After a frantic explanation, the officers decided to take the situation seriously. They quickly mobilized, calling for backup and preparing to confront the clowns at the amusement park. Jack, Tom, and the girl felt a surge of relief as they joined the officers, adrenaline still coursing through their veins. "Stay close," one of the officers instructed, leading them back toward the park. "We're going to get to the bottom of this." As they approached the entrance, Jack's heart raced with a mix of fear and determination. They had exposed the cult, but the danger was far from over. The group moved stealthily through the park, and as they neared the funhouse, they could hear the clowns' laughter echoing in the night. "They're still here," one of the officers murmured. "Let's catch them off guard," the officer said, signaling for them to split up. Jack felt a surge of courage as he gripped Tom's hand. "We can't let them win." The officers moved in, their flashlights illuminating the darkness as they closed in on the clowns gathering. Jack and his friends stayed close, ready to face whatever horrors awaited them. As they reached the funhouse, the clowns erupted in chaos, their laughter morphing into wild shouts of anger as they realized they were being ambushed. "Intruders!" the blue-wigged clown screeched, rallying the others. "Stop right there!" the officer yelled, drawing his weapon. The clowns hesitated, their manic expressions shifting from amusement to confusion. "You think you can take us on?" one of them challenged, brandishing a knife. "We're not afraid of you," the girl shouted, stepping forward with unexpected bravado. The air crackled with tension as the standoff began. Jack felt his heart racing, adrenaline surging through his veins. This was it, the moment they had fought for. The officers moved in, but the clowns were ready to defend their twisted ritual. Chaos erupted as the officers and clowns clashed, a whirlwind of movement as they fought to reclaim control. "Jack! Tom! Stay back!" an officer shouted as they rushed toward the fray. The sound of struggle filled the air, and Jack felt a surge of determination. "We have to help!" he shouted, grabbing a nearby prop to defend themselves. "No!" the girl yelled, pulling him back. "It's too dangerous!" But Jack could see the chaos unfolding. "We can't let them get away!" he insisted. As the fight continued, Jack and his friends moved toward the altar, determined to destroy the mask that represented the dark power the clowns sought to summon. "Cover me!" Jack shouted, dashing forward as Tom and the girl provided support, throwing anything they could find at the clowns to distract them. Jack reached the altar, grabbing the mask and lifting it high. "This ends now!" he shouted, smashing it to the ground. The sound echoed through the chaos, a shattering noise that seemed to resonate with the very darkness the clowns had summoned. The energy in the air shifted, and the clowns paused, confusion etched on their faces. With the mask destroyed, the power that had fueled the clowns began to dissipate. The remaining clowns faltered, their laughter turning to screams of rage as the officers moved in to apprehend them. Jack felt a wave of relief wash over him as he stepped back, his heart racing. They had done it. They had stopped the cult. As the dust settled and the officers secured the area, Jack turned to his friends, a sense of victory swelling within him. They had faced the darkness and emerged stronger. "We did it," Tom said, breathless with disbelief. "Yeah, we did," Jack replied, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. As dawn broke, casting a warm glow over the park, the officers conducted their investigation, gathering evidence of the cult's activities. Jack, Tom, and the girl watched as the clowns were led away, their reign of terror finally over. "Thank you for helping us," the girl said, her eyes shining with gratitude. "I couldn't have done this without you both. None of us could have done it alone," Jack replied, feeling a bond forming between them. "We faced it together." As the sun rose higher, they felt the weight of the night lift, leaving behind a sense of hope and determination. They had uncovered the truth and saved themselves, proving that even in the darkest moments, courage and friendship could shine through. After their harrowing escape from the clowns' gathering, Jack, Tom, and Sarah are determined to uncover the truth behind the amusement park's sinister history. They gather at Jack's house, poring over old articles, books, and local legends. They find that the amusement park was built over the ruins of an old fairground, which had a reputation for mysterious disappearances and ghost sightings. Jack discovers a chilling article about a string of children who vanished without a trace during the park's grand opening decades ago, and rumors suggested that a dark force was at play. The trio stumbles upon a photograph of a clown performer who had gone missing during that time, alongside a mysterious figure shrouded in shadows. The legend states that the clowns would return to reclaim what was lost, and Jack begins to piece together that the clowns might be using the park as a cover for their cult activities. Realizing they must confront the clowns directly, Jack proposes they return to the amusement park under the cover of night. Their goal is to find evidence of the cult's activities, and to uncover the identity of the powerful figure mentioned in the articles. Tom hesitates, recalling the danger they faced before, but Sarah's determination rallies them. "We can't let them keep terrorizing this town," she insists, and her bravery convinces them to go forward. They arm themselves with flashlights, a portable recorder, and a makeshift weapon, a baseball bat. With nerves taut and adrenaline surging, they set out toward the park, the moon illuminating their path. As they arrive at the amusement park, they are struck by the eerie silence. The bright colors and laughter that once filled the space are replaced by shadows and an unsettling stillness. They cautiously step inside, the gate creaking ominously. Each sound echoes through the empty rides, heightening their anxiety. Jack feels a chill run down his spine as they walk past the clown-themed attractions, a reminder of their earlier encounter. As they explore, they discover hidden passages and rooms filled with forgotten memorabilia, old clown costumes, posters for performances that never happened, and remnants of past rituals. Sarah finds a journal that belonged to a previous clown, detailing the cult's history and their intentions to summon a powerful spirit for ultimate control. Venturing deeper into the park, they stumble upon a decrepit funhouse that seems to pulse with malevolent energy. The mirrors distort their reflections, amplifying their fears and insecurities. Inside the funhouse, the atmosphere shifts. Hallucinations begin to plague them, visions of the clowns laughing maniacally, shadows creeping closer, and whispers that prey on their deepest fears. Jack sees the clown from his nightmares, taunting him, Despite the hallucinations, they realize they must confront their fears together. They band together, holding on to their friendship as a lifeline, and press forward, determined to uncover the truth behind the funhouse's secrets. Eventually, they discover a hidden room beneath the funhouse, a ceremonial space adorned with sinister symbols, candles, and a large altar at its center. To their horror, they find the clowns gathered, preparing for another ritual, chanting in unison. The atmosphere crackles with dark energy as the cult leader, a tall figure in an elaborate clown costume, stands before the altar, holding the legendary mask that seems to glow with an otherworldly light. They realize this is their chance to gather evidence and put a stop to the cult's activities. They quietly begin recording the scene while formulating a plan to disrupt the ritual. As the chanting grows louder, Jack musters the courage to shout, "Stop!" The clowns turn, startled, their laughter fading as they recognize the intruders. The cult leader glares at them, his eyes gleaming with rage. "You think you can interrupt us? This is only the beginning!" The clowns charge at Jack, Tom, and Sarah, who quickly retreat into the funhouse. A chaotic chase ensues through the twisting mirrors, their reflections battling the clowns' surreal forms. They use their knowledge of the funhouse to evade the clowns, but they can feel the pressure mounting as the clowns close in. They find themselves trapped in a corner of the funhouse, the clowns closing in. The atmosphere is thick with tension, and Jack feels the weight of their situation crashing down on him. In a moment of desperation, Sarah remembers the baseball bat they had brought. "If we can break the altar, we can disrupt their power," she shouts. They regroup and launch a counterattack, swinging the bat to clear a path and rushing toward the altar. The cult leader tries to invoke the spirit, but as they reach the altar, Jack swings the bat with all his might, smashing the mask into pieces. With the mask shattered, a shockwave ripples through the room, disrupting the ritual. The clown's laughter turns to screams as the energy spirals out of control. The cult leader falls to his knees, enraged and desperate. "You fools! You have no idea what you've done!" he bellows, but Jack stands firm, feeling a sense of empowerment. Tom and Sarah rally behind Jack, standing resolutely against the remaining clowns. The power they once feared becomes a source of strength as they face the darkness together. As the dust settles, the remaining clowns flee the scene, realizing their plans have been thwarted. The park begins to feel lighter, the oppressive atmosphere lifting. Exhausted but triumphant, Jack, Tom, and Sarah take a moment to breathe. They've faced their fears and emerged victorious, but the experience has changed them forever. Just as they begin to process what happened, Mr. Thompson arrives, having tracked them down. He takes in the scene, and together they share their findings, promising to expose the cult to the community. With the cult's power diminished, the trio returns to the town to share their story. They meet with the police and local leaders to reveal the truth about the clowns and the cult's activities. To their surprise, many in the community are supportive, and Mr. Thompson helps to publish their story, shedding light on the cult's dark history. The townspeople rally around the trio, offering their support and gratitude. As they prepare for a press conference, Jack grapples with whether to reveal everything, including the psychological toll the experience has taken on them. In the end, he decides that honesty is essential, even if it exposes their vulnerabilities. The story of the cult and the clown spreads like wildfire through the town, leading to a series of community meetings focused on healing and rebuilding trust. Jack, Tom, and Sarah find themselves becoming local heroes, their bravery celebrated. However, the reality of their experience weighs heavily on them, leading to moments of reflection and introspection. The trio attends community meetings where others share their fears and experiences, emphasizing the importance of mental health and healing. They find comfort in knowing they are not alone. As life begins to return to normal, Jack and his friends navigate the challenges of moving forward. Jack starts a blog to document their journey, hoping to help others who have faced similar situations. Writing becomes a form of therapy, allowing him to process his feelings and fears. Tom discovers a passion for photography and starts capturing moments of joy and resilience in the community. Sarah becomes an advocate for mental health awareness, sharing her story to inspire others. Months pass, and the trio reflects on their journey and the friendships they forged. They have transformed from frightened kids into empowered individuals. One evening, they decide to revisit the amusement park, now safely guarded and undergoing renovations. They walk through the park, feeling a mix of nostalgia and healing. Jack leaves behind a note at the funhouse, symbolizing their closure and willingness to move on. "We face the darkness and emerge stronger," he writes, sealing it with their shared memories. As the town embraces a new era, Jack, Tom, and Sarah prepare for their next steps in life. Their bond has deepened through shared experiences, and they look to the future with hope. They discuss their dreams, aspirations, and the adventures that await them. The fear of the clowns has been replaced with determination and courage. The trio organizes a community event at the newly reopened amusement park to celebrate resilience and healing, ensuring that the darkness of the past will not overshadow their future. As they stand together, watching the joy and laughter return to the amusement park, they realize that they have transformed their fears into something powerful. Their journey has become a testament to friendship, courage, and the importance of confronting one's past. The story concludes with a reflection on the lessons they learned, how to face fears, the strength of friendship, and the healing power of community. They know that while the past may haunt them, it will not define them.